Hello and welcome back to Factor Y. Many of you will remember this game if you have been watching my channel. It is a game we played a couple of times before to various levels, but never actually fully completing. However, I would like to take this opportunity for this series to attempt to complete it in a fashion. If you're not familiar with the game, if you're coming because you're interested in the game now that it is 1.0 release and out of early access, Factor Y is a relaxing, large-scale, multi-planetary, mega-factory automation game. We will mine resources, craft new items and structures via recipes, and generate our own custom building blocks. We'll expand our factory to span across multiple planets. So while it is a large-scale factory game, it is also somewhat very minimalistic, at least in its design. So a lot of things are kind of abstract and representative, but it should still give you a good feel for a factory game. This is developed and self-published by Martin Buck Software, and it is his first game on Steam. Actually, it's not his first game on Steam. I stand corrected. So it is, however, his largest scale game to date. So we're just going to jump in and get started on the game. Later on, after we played a little while, I think I'm going to switch into the save that I have from a previous playthrough, and we will kind of jump then toward the end of the game and see that. But that'll be quite some time into the series. So what we have here is a planet. The planet is part of has a couple of local moons and is part of a larger planetary system that actually scales out quite a distance. On this planet, this is the planet we must start on. On this planet, we have to choose a place to start. We will find on this planet, I should zoom out a little bit more, 4 of the 6 resources we have available to us in this game: coal, iron ore, copper ore, and stone, with titanium ore and uranium being missing so far from the missing from this planet, which we'll have to obtain from another source. We have so you can see here all 4 of the resources are very well represented in the game. They are randomly generated, so you want to find a good spot to start with, one that you can get within range of a little bit of everything, especially coal. Probably more than anything else, actually definitely more than anything else, but also a decent amount of iron and copper, and at least a little bit of stone. So we could look around for a while and find what might be a good spot, but to be honest with you, there isn't really, due to the random sort of nature of generation of the ores, there kind of isn't really an area that is any better than any other. You can play on the snow or on the grass. The only place you cannot play on is, well, not rocks, but mountain, I think is what this is called. Yes, mountains, where you cannot build on mountains. You can build on rocks, you can build on grass, you can build on snow, but you cannot build on mountains. Actually, it might be interesting to set up down here where there is some snow, some rocks, and some grass to work with. Let's see if we can find a good spot down here with a decent amount of coal and everything else, maybe. That's a nice chunk of coal there. Anything else? That might be alright. There is this mountain in the middle of it here a little bit that might screw with us somewhat, but if we kind of build largely, the rocks, this is mountains. If we build largely to this direction, we should be okay from here. So let's just set up here. So the first thing you have to do is go into the last menu list here. Actually, we could pull the tutorial out. Not that, but the tutorial. This and that. There we are. Place the starter. The starter is kind of like your base central hub. It gives you 2 things. A little bit of energy, represented there by NRG, plus 500, so 500 energy. It also gives us something that's kind of unique to this game, which is a thing called influence, which is the area in which you can build. You have to build within an area you have influence over, And if you try to build outside of the influence, those resources, those buildings will not work, because in order to distribute power, you have to build in the influence range. So we have now influence, and we need to place 2 miners, one on coal, one on iron. I'm not going to use this large chunk of coal here or here. I'm going to build them that in an area here like this, where they are much, hopefully I can build it within this, where they are much closer together, so that we can get the resources much better. Miners. M for miners. No, that's not M for miners. Am I losing my... Oh, right. That's where miners are. Let's see. So we need a miner here on coal. One of the things that this game has is infinite resources, but the availability of a resource is determined by, or the quantity of resource you'll get with the miners, determined by the amount of resource nodes that are within the coverage zone of the miner. But because we are kind of still in the very early stages here, and we don't have all the things we need, we're going to just do a couple of miners like that on a very small number. This one has 5, this one has just 3, because we are just going to place down a couple of arms that will output those items. Actually, maybe I will move this one over there. Output those items and then input them directly into a furnace. So we have that. And then we need to place 10 belts moving 5 coal and 5 iron. Well, I didn't want to do that, but I guess I will do that. Then in that case, then I'm going to move this again. We'll follow the tutorial just to follow the tutorial. 5 there. 5 there. And then we'll have to wait till they actually move 5 coal and 5 iron. And as you can see, the iron is already ahead of the coal a little bit. There's 4 on the belt, and the 5th one's on the way. Whereas there's only 4... Oh, it didn't even make us wait till 5 coal. Place a furnace. Okay, that's here and here. Follow the yellow brick road, Wally. We'll place that there. And then we can smelt 10 iron in the furnace. We can do that by using some inserter arms here to put the items in the furnace. To clone an item, all you have to do is right-click on it. If you want to delete an item, you just have to hover over with your cursor and press the delete key on your keyboard. You are outside of the influence zone. Okay, well, we're going to skip a tutorial step here and place down another influencer. I can't see the... Oh, I can barely... Okay, that's a good reason not to play on snow. It's a little hard to see the influencer zone here. I think it's there. Looks like it's there. It's there. Probably there. Might even be there. Well, I can't tell where the top edge of this is. No, it wasn't there. It must have been higher up. Oh, there it is, right there. I can see it now. It needs to be up here, which means this one could be up there. And actually, then I don't need this one. Okay, so now we are smelting 10 iron in the furnace. We need to output that into something, and for the purposes of the something, I'm just going to put it onto a couple of belts. Because we can't smelt iron unless we have... we can only smelt so many, we can only store so many in the actual furnace. I think it's only 1 or 2 that it'll do ahead of... or internal storage, and then the rest must be output. So, the way this works is 1 coal and 1 iron makes 1 iron ingot. Which is why you need a lot of coal in this game, because... unlike games like Factorio, where the coal has a fuel value, and your furnaces will use a certain amount of fuel per second, a certain fuel value per second, rather, power consumption. This game uses the coal as an item, more, at least in terms of smelting, more so than a fuel. So we filled the step iron plates. Now we need to place an assembler. That's down here also in this menu. And we can place that here, and then we need to make gears with it. And so we can click on it, and it gives us sort of the similar kind of menu here, but there's different items that we can choose from. And as you can see, there's a lot more in this processing category than just the assembler and furnace. There's all the items that you can actually make as processed items too. So we'll do that, and then we can do... I'm still doing that thing. I don't know how, but I managed to do something with my mouse when I'm clicking things that causes me to drag a box, which is the highlight tool, which we'll use a little bit later. So you can make some gears. It's going to stop making the gears again after a couple. Yeah, after a couple. So we're going to want to deal with those two. I'm just going to put them on a single belt, though, I think, because, well, we're going to want to make changes, I think, at some point here. So everything in this game is kind of abstracted away in terms of like when you're building things, you just build them. You don't really have an inventory or a playable character. You're kind of playing in God mode a little bit, and everything you have available to you to build with is based on basically what came with you in that starter. Which is a handful of assemblers, a handful of furnaces, a handful of belts, a handful of arms, a handful of everything. We need to use this, speaking of belts, to make belts. So we'll go here to the belts in the belt menu, and then we can do this to add the gears in there. We'll also need to make sure we add in the iron plate, because iron plate plus gear makes belt, and that's 1 plus 1 makes 1, and then we want to produce those belts. Now, because the game is sort of abstract and there's no player character, there's no personal inventory here, we have to sort of magically make items available to ourselves via the to the player character. And we do that in this game, the show might tell us, but do we do that via these providers? And anything that's a buildable structure, belts, inserter arms, assemblers, etc., all need to be put into a provider in order to make them available to you to build with. So right now we have 58, 59, you can see as the arm input one in there. It increments, that's how many we have to build with. And this is kind of like a bit of magic storage in that there is no inventory here. This goes into sort of a global storage availability for construction. We have to have 80 belts in the planet's inventory now, which of course requires us to do this provider. And we can set a limit on providers though. So if we wanted to say, only want to have 100 items in this, accepted by this provider. This is 100 of each item. Any and all items that are accepted by providers will be limited if they're input into this provider to the maximum of 100 of them. So that may sound a little weird, but you can have as many providers as you want. You can have each provider set at a different number, but whatever item or items get input into this parameter will be stopped once your planetary inventory has 100 of that item. So right now we are at 74 belts. We need to get ourselves up to 80, which won't be very long, because this makes a belt every 256 ticks, or just over 4 milliseconds, or 4 seconds, excuse me, just over 4 seconds per belt, and just over 4 seconds per gear, which is why actually this works very well as a one-to-one system. The problem is this furnace is only producing a small amount of coal, or only producing a small amount of ingots, partially because we don't have that much coal coming in, but also because it is limited to a smelt time of 200 milliseconds. So it can only produce 1 iron every 3.2 seconds, whereas this needs 1 iron every 4 seconds, just over 4, and this needs 1 iron every 4 seconds, which means we need 2 iron every 4 seconds, or 1 iron every 2 seconds. So for that, we might want to make another one. We can do that reasonably here. Let's do this and that, and let's also grab from here. I think we'll be fine, and push this into there, and then grab from here. Or will you fight? You might fight. Yeah, it's gonna always go to the first one. Okay, so let's go over here then. Put this one up there, and we'll just do this instead. There we go. Adjust the music just a little bit, I think. Okay. So we are making belts. Oh, I guess I gotta have an output on this, don't I? There we go. And that'll output here, and we'll have 2 furnaces outputting onto this singular belt. Now, one of the things that's different from between this game and, again, Factorio, is that there are no underground belts. The belts in this game are always going to be on the surface, and so you can't take a belt under a building, or over a building, or anything a building, or even relative to an arm. You have to take the belt around or up to the building like I'm doing here. And so because of that, you want to be very particular in your designs. Except that I spent a bunch of belts, which means that I spent a bunch of my planetary inventory, and we're just now working our way back up to 80. I guess I should have waited on that a little bit. Oops. I guess I spent 6, 7, 8 of them. Yeah, so now we had to wait for 8 more seconds. But we're also making them faster because we're producing twice as much coal. Or iron ore, rather. Iron plates, even. So this game does have other belt functions, or functional belts. So we have splitters, mergers, and crossings. So you can have belts that cross each other, but you cannot have belts that go underneath a building or over a building or any of that. Alright, I have 35 arms in the planet's inventory. Now we need to change the recipe on this assembler. We could also instead build another one, but given the quantity of things we have to start with, it's actually not a bad plan to just reuse it for the purposes of the tutorial. We could set up some more smelting and have another setup like this somewhere else, and I may just do that, but I wanted to go ahead and get this stuff started because we need to have it produce us about another 20 belts, or arms. So I think what we could do, though, is grab some more iron from this area. Let's do these 2. And grab another couple of these. Let's go with 1 there and 1 there. Let's do belt. Actually, let's do 1 more of these things. 1 there and 1 there. That should be enough for now. Output these onto here, and that will go down here. This one can go straight in, and then this one will come out this way. We'll come over and up, and this one will come down and over. And then we'll do this, and we'll do that. And we need a belt here too. This. And then we can output these over here onto another belt. And then we can have a couple of these things. Oh, and by the way, if you right-click to copy a machine, like an assembler, it will keep the recipe, which is kind of nice. And even if you do that, you can still change the recipe, obviously, to something else. And for that something else, we're going to have belt assembler still working over here. And that'll be very useful. So we'll put this in there, and then that will go in here. And then we can take these out like this and into another one of these providers. And it copied the settings, just like it copies the settings of those, so we're limiting to 100 still in the belt department. We're still limiting to 100, but since we changed this recipe, now this is limiting 100 arms in this case, not belts. But I didn't have to change anything there if I wanted to keep it at 100, because I automatically have... it automatically limits it to 100 of anything being put into that. Okay, so we might need a little bit more coal coming in, because you can see how these are stopped for a while. The lights light up when they are when they're actually working. We could just do this in kind of a cheap way. Actually, maybe I should just remove those and let this one be since this one has 9, let that one be its own thing. And we could do maybe this here. This will then need to be rotated, of course, which R will do for you. And we can do that. Because the arms can only do a 180-degree turn like that. They cannot do a 90 or any other angle. They must be 180 degrees. That may help a little bit. This one may still not be great, which means we may have to do something slightly different here. But for now, it's fine. And in this game, you don't need a lot of copper from the beginning. Later on you will, but from the beginning you actually don't need a lot of copper. You need a lot of iron. And instead of using this belt to handle those gears, I just direct fed this because why not? It's a little bit more efficient. Fewer items or entities, rather. So, because it's one arm rather than two arms and a belt. Another thing to keep in mind, arms will always place on the starting edge of the belt, no matter which angle, which direction they're in, and they will always take from the ending edge of the belt. Regardless of where the item is on the belt, the arm will not take it until it is on that ending edge. Keep that in mind as well. No, I actually could have made this another arm assembler, and then that would have gotten us arms faster. We are at 23. Yeah, that might not be a bad idea. If you change a recipe like that, any items in the assembler will be lost. Not deleted or moved to your planet's inventory or anything like that. Lost. Oh, and this takes 2 plates and 2 gears. This takes twice as much. Really, then, I should have 4 of these here instead of just 2 of them, I think. Or 3 would probably do it okay. Since these take 3 seconds, that's 1 per second. And these need 4 every... Oh, they also are only made every 8 seconds. So they take 1 per every 2 seconds. Actually, this is fine. This is fine. Because it takes twice as long to make. So it's actually a good thing that we have 2 of them going, because they take twice as long. And we could keep doing this. The issue and the problem that we run into, of course, is the fact that we have to do what we're doing with the belts right now. In the near future, when we have other types of belts, other functionality belts, we can do some smelting arrays and things like that that will keep us a bit more... compact or concise or more efficient, at least. We could do... How many more of these do we have left? 6. You can see that number also right there on the left edge, just below the mouse cursor. The same thing with belts and arms. Oh, we did it. 35. Nice. Place a burner. Place a burner in such a way that you can feed coal into it. That's what we're going to use this for. Well, I mean, we have stone here too. Yeah, but... Burners are power generators. We're going to take... Actually, we're going to do something else first. We're going to mine first. And we're going to grab some decent amount of coal here. Maybe like 3 of them to start. And then we're going to do belts. Or, sorry, arms and then belts. And the arms, by the way, will not place things on the ground. They will hold on to them until you have a place for them to go. Let's do this, and then let's put this into a... one burner to start, and then we'll need more later. And we can do this, and we can do this. Oopsie. And we can get that. And that'll produce a few more energy. Place and feed enough burners such that you produce a total of 700 energy. Now remember, this produces 500. Can we zoom in to see that, or how did we see that? It tells us... There, 500. These only produce 100. But that means we just need 2 of them. There. There. Me back. Come on. Feed it in. I want this back. I don't want to delete the coal. We'll do that, and that'll produce 700 energy. I should also probably change one of these back. There we go. But I just lost a few items. There. Because of that. Alright, so now we need to make research tokens. And research tokens are exactly what they sound like. they are the way that you do research. So that recipe is I can't remember where that recipe is, but we can actually see where that recipe is by putting a blank or any assembler down and then finding the recipe, which actually is in here. It is in the special category. It is these magnifying glass looking icons. There's different colors for each research token, but they all have the same shape or style or whatever icon. So one research token, it costs us, oops, let's do it this way, will cost us 1 gear every 256 ticks, every just over 4 milliseconds. Conveniently, one research token needs exactly one research token assembler needs exactly 1 gear assembler. So we can do the same kind of thing we've been doing with these other things up here with more with more of the iron and coal we have available to us. So let's do some more mining. Let's go here, and let's go here. I think the music is still a little too loud. Go with that. And then we can do arms, and that'll output here and maybe here. And then we want to have a furnace. Those are going into. Grab a couple of belts. Like that. And into here and into there. And then we can take that into a into making just like we have here, but with these. I can drag a box and highlight and then delete, and that will put them in like a blueprint cursor type of thing, or we can use let's see, let's go like this. I think we can use this to produce more. How do I want to handle this? I would like to have another furnace, actually. Maybe I should have done this a little differently. Yeah, you know what? I'm gonna delete some of this stuff and make a mess. Make a mess. That and this. Yeah, let's delete all this stuff. It's all infinite anyways, so it doesn't really matter. Delete that too, please. And let's go with slight difference here. Put one of these down here, one of those up there. And then let's also take this right. It's not going to work right either. I don't have enough miners. Oh, okay. Well, I can actually make a change for that too. Can I do this way? This is where it gets a little bit kind of rough, because since you can't do undergrounds and you can't do even some of the other belts that we do have available to us, you end up with a little bit of a struggle to try and get everything into the into all the correct places here. What if I do... I got it by getting coal from this other one on all of these. That's how I cheesed it before. But I think you can do something basically similar to this. No. I know I did this some way before, but I'm not seeing how I did it before. All right, well, we're just gonna go with one for now, and we'll make it work for now. Let's get rid of this then. We'll just do a single belt here. We'll do a couple of belts here, and then we can do the arms in, arms there, We'll make some iron again, and we'll take those which I deleted, and we'll make a gear assembler, and we'll make a research token assembler there. Just do it and don't spend a bunch of time. That and this, just the same as we've done with the other things here. And then this goes into, instead of a provider, this goes into a lab. Do we have a lab? Does it give us a lab? One lab. This goes into a lab, a research lab. And any research token can be input into a research lab. And when it's input, you'll see it glowing. And that will tell you that it's doing the research. Yeah, this is fine because this takes a while to do research anyway. So we need to make 10 RTs and then do... Oh, we don't have the research sheet set up yet. If we go into V for research, we can set up our first few things. And the thing that I want to do first is, I think, crossings. There we go. And that'll research the crossings. It'll take 10 research tokens to do it. If we highlight here, it'll tell us RT1, we need 10. We have one in there already. Here's the second one going now. And it takes 1,000 ticks, 16 seconds, to process one research token. This is producing them at a rate of almost 4 times that. So we could actually have 4 of these labs for one of these, which means that in this case, because this is half as much as we need, I think, or thereabouts, we can actually only do about 2 of those, maybe 3. But that's fine. But we only have 1, so we can't do anything about that right now. We could, however, make more. They can be made in an assembler, just like everything else. If we wanted to do that, we'd have to have chips and wires. Well, we haven't learned how to make chips and wires yet. But we could figure it out because we do have those things. All the intermediate products are already unlocked and available to us. So chips are here and wires are here. Let's just do it like this for right now. And one lab requires 8 chips and 4 wires every 2048 ticks. This will make 1 chip every 256, which means that one of these will make more than enough chips for one of these. In fact, it will actually wait 8 chips every 2048, 1 every 256. That's actually perfect. And this will require iron plate and 1 wire. And that 1 wire is every 256. So then we can take a look at the wire recipe, which produces 2 wire every 512, which is the number there in purple, by the way. Oh, thank you. Which is... Wait a minute. Yes, the number in purple, which is 1 every 256. So, and then we also need 4 wire every 2048, which means that we need to have half of one of these plus 1 for this. But we did that. We researched the crossings technology, or just about have, which is the one that the game wants us to do. So we're just about there already. Create a module that produces belts. So modules are a very, we're not going to do this right now though. Modules are a very unique thing in this game. And actually before we do that, let's come in here and add something else to the research. And I think that something else needs to be... I think it needs to be splitters. 2-belt mixing. This unlocks the swapper and the mixer, which both can be used in different ways to do different types of splitting. We'll get that going. That's cost us 10 as well. So modules are selectable here on the menu, or you can use the X key. That's the modular planner, module planner, and then we also have the modules listing. This is empty right now because we have not made any modules, not designed any. We need to go into the planner and do that. Now, the concept of modules are, if you have a repeatable design that you want to continually use for some purpose, whatever that purpose may be, you can create that as a module with any number of machines within it, and that can be used to be easily placeable on the map because it can be placed as one object instead of multiple. For example, we're going to be placing creating a module that produces belts. Minimum to produce belts would be something like this, where you need some input of iron. You need arms bringing the iron into the two assembly machines. You need an arm carrying the material from one to the other, the gears in this case, and then you need one taking care of the output. So that's several arms. That's two machines, and it takes a little bit to build each time. And so the concept modules will simplify building of repetitive parts, such as belts, and make it so you can place down one object, a module, to produce belts instead of having a extended set of things to produce. Now, there are a few limitations to modules. Oh, and also, by the way, modules are at some point more efficient to UPS updates per second in the game, processing basically, than placing items in the world are. And that's because of the way that they are created and kind of calculated ahead of time. But there's a few drawbacks to modules. At the beginning, you have things called sources and sinks. Actually, let's get started on this first. So we place these down just like we normally would. We can set the recipe just like we normally would to make belts. We finished 2 belt mixing, and we can also create or put the assembler down to make gears. But then we need to be able to bring iron into this somehow, and you can't just, well, you could, I suppose, have a smelter in there to make ores into plates, but the problem is miners cannot be put into a planer. You can see that there on the tooltip for miners, no planer. So how do you get the iron and the copper into here? Now that's another, it's module category, and that's sources and sinks. These are chest-like sources, which means that when you place them down, they act as a chest as far as the game is concerned, but they also will act as the deposit point when you are using this out in the world. So if we just want to simulate this, we can just simulate this by putting an arm there, and it'll automatically get an infinite number at this point of iron from nothing, basically, and it is providing the iron to the belt maker to be able to create the belts, but we still need to provide iron to the gears. So we could do the same kind of thing. And notice it, by the way, it restarted everything. Every time you place something, the simulation starts over. We need to place enough for what we need here so that we can make all the things. Now, the limitation is that because this is a chest-like source, the arm is our limitation. The arm swings 128 ticks to swing 180 degrees. So 256 ticks to make a round trip of grabbing an item, depositing it, and coming back again. Which is, coincidentally, exactly the same time that it takes to smelt, or to make the belt, to make the gear. So most efficiently, you would use 2 sources like this, because you need to have one arm from each one, most effectively, I should say, not most efficiently. But the problem is when you put this out in the world, you're going to have to provide this module with the same amount of resources that it needs, which at this point is twice is enough for 2 arms to be working non-stop. And so we can actually place this in the world right now. We need to commit this into the sort of programming. It's been running for a while now. We need to do a few things. We need to modularize this. I have to remember how to do this. You have to tell it how many you want it to produce. Right, we have to tell it how many. Let's produce 10. Let's also speed this up like that. It produced 10. It used 13 of each to produce 10. Now, if you think about that, it used 26 iron to produce 10 belts. One belt, though, should only use 2 iron. So we can limit this chest also to say, well, you only need, or sorry, one belt should use 20 iron, 2 iron plates per belt. So we can limit these to be just 10 apiece, and they will then only use 10 to produce 10. But one of the other things with this module is that it takes a certain amount of time to process, and that is not that. I have to remember how this works. Not ticks. Something about... Oh, there it is. Current tick, 3,300. 3,300 ticks to make 10 belts. If you do the math on that, that's 330 ticks per belt. But this belt here should only take 256. If we change this to be 100, which means we'd also have to change this to be 100. And we have to change this to be 100. So take it a moment to process 100, because it's got to make all 100. Now we're up to 26,300, 263 ticks per belt, which is a lot closer than 330 ticks per belt to the default speed. So these are also limited a little bit by something. That something is how much time it takes to get the items into the machines and then back out from the machines again to this here. If we place this down on the world right now, though, this would run for 26,300 ticks, 7 minutes and 800 milliseconds, just over 7 minutes, and then it would give us 100 belts. We don't want that to happen. So what we need to do also is go to the divisor, the modularized divisor, and this says how many times do you want this to output something. In this case, since we're making 100 belts, I think we want to set the divisor, ideally want to set the divisor to 100. And what that will do is, even though it takes 26,300 ticks to make 100, it will output each belt as it's available, 1 every 263 ticks, which is much, much, much more appropriate. But this is big. And if we put this on the world right now, it is quite a bit bigger than what we have built here, for example, because... actually, let's go ahead and put it on the world. Let's just go ahead and do it. Create a blueprint. Not what I wanted. Go back. Modularize. There we are. Module name. Belt. MK1 V1. Version 1. Then we can go here into the modules, and we can see it now, and we can pick it. You click it, and you can go back to the world map now, and you can place it. But you can see that it is quite a bit bigger, and in order to connect it up to the world, i.e. a belt, you still have to have this belt coming down like this, for example. And you also have to have arms inputting this into it. So it is quite a bit bigger than this, but it's a lot easier once you've designed it. And I've taken a lot of extra time to design it to explain it. But you have to be able to place it down. You can place it down much faster than one after the other, as far as many as you want, as long as you have all the materials to make it. That means all the assemblers, of which we have 7 left, all the arms, of which we have 100 left, and there weren't any internal belts, but if there were any internal belts, all the belts. But we can also make this a little bit smaller, a little bit more compact if you want. You don't have to, because space is huge, by the way. The planet's a huge place, so you don't have to make it smaller, but maybe you do want to make it smaller. And so you can do that. We can go back into the module. We can edit this again, or still, and we can move it around some. So let's say we wanted to move this over here. And let's say we wanted to simplify these a little bit so that we can do this, and I lied. That needs to go over there. This needs to go over here. Let's say we wanted to simplify this a little bit so that you had a couple of these like this, and you had this like that. We still have 2 inputs, which may or may not be what you want. At this point, I think it might be what I want, but we still have 2 inputs. We still have 1 output, and it still took the same amount of ticks, 26,300 ticks, to make 100 belts. But this is a little bit more compact because we've made better use of the space that we have available to us here. So let's go ahead and create this one as a module. We'll call this belt MK1 V2. We'll go into the into this, and you can see the difference between the two of them here. And we can grab this module now and put it down in the world. So we still have two inputs, which you may only want one input. But if you have one input, then you're limiting yourself by the amount of iron that can be moved by one arm. And at this point, our arms are a little too slow for that, in my opinion. So having two of these here is actually somewhat better. And this doesn't stick out nearly as far, as you can see here. So we can do an output here into a thing much easier with this belt here. So that's modules. What we're going to do is remove this one, of course. Remove that and this. We're actually going to remove all of this too. I think that's good, and we're off by one, but that's fine. We're going to remove this, we're going to remove that, and we're going to remove this once it's done with that arm. Oh, I have too many arms made. Let's change this number slightly here, just to allow the... Maybe? Oh, I probably have more than 105 even. There we go. Yes, you may. Okay. Just so we don't use up all those, I guess. It's kind of futile, but also not. Delete that now. Delete this. Delete that. And then we're going to grab this, and we're going to pull it up here someplace. Let's go right there, actually. That's fine. At least for now. Let's delete all of this, because we don't need it. Delete that too, actually. Grab these. We'll do 2 in, 1 out. And we'll grab one of these to be the output. And then that will be a little bit easier to place. If we wanted to have 2 of these, we could easily just put down another one, and so on and so forth. The colors on the borders tell you whether the machine's in good operation or not, I think. And it's a little bit... I'm not sure. Oh yeah, it's stuck because we've maxed out how many we can make, and because we have too many belts in storage. So there is that. Oh, I just replaced the iron one with the belt one. That's alright, we'll figure that out later. So we have too many belts in storage, but we have that. This is the last step of the tutorial for a very long time, and that is to place the launch pad. The launch pad came... What? Oh, we have to make a launch pad. The launch pad we do not have. The launch pad will be here in this menu, the space menu, but we do not have one yet, and so for a long time we will not need this tutorial. It's still not there, Wally. It is not there either. Wait a minute. Oh, there it is. We can turn the tutorial off then for a very long time because we have a lot of factory to build before we can make a launch pad and deploy a launch pad. Before we end this episode, let's do one more research. I think we'll do the we'll do the 3 belt mixing Mark 1. Which will give us a couple of new belt things, mergers and splitters. And in the next episode, we will set those up, as well as the crossings and the mixers and swappers. And we'll have all the belt things going from there. So thank you all for joining me, and I'll see you next time. Bye for now.